International Typographic Style, ITS, Chapter 18. This chapter focuses on the design movement that emerged in Switzerland and Germany during the 1950s. It's been called Swiss design, and more appropriately, the International Typographic Style. It had a great impact on post-war American design. The roots of the International Typographic Style are to a large extent found in the curriculum at the School of Design in Basel. The development of this curriculum at Basel has its basis in fundamental geometric exercises involving the cube and the line. So the ITS, or International Typographic Style, sometimes called the Swiss style, was a very important and popular movement that lasted from 1950 to 1980. You can see here the many notable contributors who are legends in graphic design. This foundation began in the 19th century, independent of the Style and the Bauhaus, and was the basis for the 1908 formation of the school's foundation course, and remained relevant to the design program in the 1950s. The characteristics of the International Typographic Style include asymmetrical organization of design elements on a mathematically constructed grid, objective photography and copy that present visual and verbal information in a clear and factual manner, and the use of sans serif typography set flush left and ragged right. More important than visual appearance was the attitude the pioneers of this movement developed about their profession. They defined design as an important and socially useful activity, and the role of the designer as an objective conduit for spreading information between different components of society. Personal expression and eccentric solutions were rejected in favor of a more universal and scientific approach to design problem solving. So here we see the style characteristics of the ITS. Objective graphic design using the grid for organization. The mathematics of a grid were like the architecture of the page. Type and photos should communicate fast. There was this calm and rational aesthetic. It was about creating cultural calm after the war. It was simple, clear, and lacked complexity. It was very rational communication. Among the pioneers of the ITS were Ernst Keller, who believed the solution to a design problem should emerge from its content. The quality and discipline found in the Swiss design movement can be traced back to this designer really more than any other individual. Rather than espousing a specific style, Keller believed the solution to the design problem should emerge from its content. Fittingly, his work encompassed diverse solutions. Here's a poster for the Wrightberg Museum that demonstrates his interest in symbolic imagery, simplified geometric forms, expressive edges and lettering, and vibrant and contrasting color. Emblematic images are energized by repetitive geometric elements. Here is Max Bill. He was a Swiss architect, artist, painter, typeface designer, industrial designer, and graphic designer who created concrete art. He wanted to translate abstract ideas into concrete objects. He was very into visual organization, a linear division of space into harmonious parts, modular grids with arithmetic and geometric progressions, permutations and sequences, an equalization of contrasting and complementary relationships that are all ordered into the whole. As I said, he embraced the concepts of art concrete, which called for a universal art of absolute clarity based on controlled mathematical construction. Bill's work was based on cohesive principles of this visual organization, like the linear division of space into harmonious parts and modular grids. This exhibition poster has diamond-shaped photographs that form a wedge. Some photographs are placed on the white ground to equalize the figure ground. In 1950, Bill became involved in developing the graphic design program at the Institute of Design in Ulm, Germany, which attempted to establish a center for research and training to address the design problems of the era. Otto Eicher, one of the Ulm co-founders, played an important role in establishing the design program, and Anthony Froschog set up the type workshop. The Ulm Institute of Design included a study of semiotics, the philosophical theory of signs and symbols. The three branches of semiotics are semantics, the study of meaning of signs and symbols; syntactics, the study of how signs and symbols are connected and ordered into a whole; and pragmatics, the study of the relationship of signs and symbols to their user. Froschog was an English typographer who joined the Ulm faculty as a professor of design from 1957 till 1961 and set up the type workshop. His design of the Ulm Journal's first 5 issues is a great example of this emerging movement. In this cover for the quarterly bulletin, the 4-column grid system uses only 2 type sizes, and graphic resonance of this format was widely influential. Here we clearly see a 4-column grid. Notice that the first column is picked up with an image placed in it and turned on its side. A designer whose work was really vibrant and offered a counterpoint to Bill's purist approach was Max Huber. It reflects the futurist obsession with speed and movement, bringing depth to the printed page. Huber created complex compositions by overlapping type, graphic elements, and images, yet keeping balance and alignment. He used transparent inks that allowed the layers to show through and maintained order in the midst of all this wonderful complexity. Here we see design devices that are geometric in yellow, red, and blue. And when posters are all hung in a row together in multiples, they help unify the poster. Before embarking on the profession of graphic designer, Stankowski worked as a decorator and a church painter. He moved to Zurich, where he worked at the renowned advertising studio of Max de Lang. This is where he developed constructive graphic art with his new photo and typographic view. In the 60s, he created the now legendary Berlin layout, the city's visual identity. Between 1969 and 72, he was chairman of the Committee for Visual Design for the Olympic Games in Munich. Meanwhile, Hermann Zapf, a German typeface designer, evolved the traditions of calligraphy and Renaissance typography with the font Palatino, a Roman style with broad, strong serifs and elegant proportions reminiscent of Venetian faces. Melior, a modern style face with vertical stress and squared forms, and Optima, a thick and thin sans serif font with tapered strokes. Zapf's 2 editions of Manual Typographicum consisted of full-page type interpretations of quotes about the art of typography. and they were outstanding contributions to the art of the book. The international typographic style was exemplified by a new sans serif type family inspired by the 19th century Accidents grotesque fonts. In 1954, Frutiger completed Universe, a cohesive sans serif family that included 21 variations, from light extra condensed to expanded extra bold in a full range of sizes. Since the characters shared the same baseline, X height, and ascender and descender links, they could all be used together harmoniously. In the mid-50s, Edward Hoffman and Max Meidinger refined and upgraded Accident grotesque fonts for the Haas Type Foundry in Switzerland, releasing them as new Haas grotesque. Helvetica, or New Haas grotesque, is the most widely used sans serif typeface. It was developed in 1957. It's difficult to express the popularity of this font, Helvetica, which is so indicative of the international typographic style. There's an entire movie about Helvetica. It's probably the most used font in the world. And here we see those wonderful variations of Helvetica. Again, it's a sans serif font developed in 1957 by Max Meidinger with input from Edward Hoffman. In 1947, Emil Reuter joined the faculty of the Basel School of Design as a type instructor. Reuter taught that legibility and readability are dominant concerns and that type loses its purpose if it loses its communicative meaning. He advocated sensitivity to negative space, systematic overall design, and the use of a grid to bring all elements into harmony with each other while allowing for variety. More than any other designer, Reuter realized the creative potential of the font universe, and he and his students explored its possibilities through contrast, texture, and scale. Reuter's methodology of type design and education was presented in his 1967 book, Typography, a Manual of Design. Take a look at this remarkable poster created by Armin Hoffman for Giselle. In 1947, Hoffman opened a design studio in collaboration with his wife Dorothea, and that same year began teaching at the Basel School of Design. Together with Reuter, he developed an educational model linked to the educational principles of the foundation course established in 1908. Hoffman evolved a design philosophy based on the elemental graphic form language of point, line, and plane, replacing traditional pictorial ideas with a modern aesthetic. He sought a dynamic harmony in which all the parts of a design were unified and saw a relationship between contrasting elements like light to dark, curved to straight, form to counterform, as the means of invigorating visual design. And this poster is a great example. Here, the organic, kinetic, and soft photographic image contrasts with this very geometric, static, and hard-edged type. Here's a trademark he created for the Swiss National Exhibition, Expo, in 1964. An E for exhibition links with the Swiss cross. The open bottom permits the white space of the page to flow into the symbol. His work is recognized for its reliance on those fundamental elements of graphic form, point, line, and shape, while subtly conveying simplicity, complexity, representation, and abstraction. This remarkable logo for the Stadttheater Basel really catches my eye. It's a hand-lettered logotype anticipating the tight spacing and capital ligatures of phototypography. The control he shows of spatial intervals between the letter forms is simply magnificent. Here's an exterior sculpture for a high school that was created in 1975. The altered direction of the boards of the molds used to cast the concrete relief produces a vigorous textural contrast. A poster for Herman Miller furniture. Shapes and silhouettes of Herman Miller chairs are cascading through space, anchored to the format and the type by the red logo at the top center. Swiss design began to coalesce into a unified international movement when the trilingual journal New Graphic Design began publication in 1959. One of the editors was Zurich designer Joseph Müller-Brockmann. Its format and typography were a living expression of the order and refinement achieved by Swiss designers. Asymmetrical design, white space, and adherence to a 4-column grid characterized the publication. Here's a rather dramatic poster he created for the Swiss Auto Club. An exhibition poster, Der Film, demonstrates the universal design harmony achieved by mathematical spatial division. The proportions are close to the 3:5 ratio of the golden mean. Swiss graphic designer and teacher, he studied architecture, design, and history of art. In 1936, he opened his Zurich studio, specializing in graphic design, exhibition design, and photography. From 1951 on, he produced concert posters for the Tonhalle in Zurich. In 1958, he became the founding editor of New Graphic Design and is also the author of several books on design and visual communication. In 1966, he was appointed European design consultant to IBM. Brockmann is recognized for his simple designs and his clean use of typography, usually accidents grotesque or Helvetica, shapes and colors, which inspire many graphic designers in the 21st century. His photographic posters treat the image as an objective symbol, with neutral photographs gaining impact through scale and camera angle. This public awareness poster has red type that declares less noise, while the photograph graphically depicts the discomfort noise can cause. Emerging as a leading theorist and practitioner of the movement, he sought an absolute and universal form of graphic expression through objective and impersonal presentation, communicating to the audience without the interference of the designer's subjective feelings or propagandistic techniques of persuasion. Also in Zurich, Siegfried Odermatt and his partner Rosemarie Tisi loosened the boundaries of the ITS and introduced elements of chance and intuitive visual organization into the vocabulary of graphic design. Odermatt, a self-taught designer, applied the ITS to the communications of business and industry. He used straightforward photography with drama and impact and sought originality through the idea or concept, not just through visual style. His partner, Rosemarie Tisi, is known for her playful approach to graphic design. In 1968, she became an equal partner with Odermatt in the studio Odermatt and Tisi. Meet Rosemarie, an acclaimed Swiss graphic designer. She took the preliminary course at the Zurich School of Arts and Crafts and then completed a 4-year apprenticeship as a graphic designer with Siegfried Odermatt, who was a master of Swiss graphic design at the time. A very talented typographer, her work was published in the legendary magazine New Graphic since the first issue in 1957, when she was still just a student. In 1968, after 10 years spent working with Odermatt, she and her mentor set up the collective studio O&T, Odermatt and Tisi, but working separately on each one's commissions. The studio mainly focused on printed matter, posters, and custom typefaces for clients from the cultural and public fields. During her career, she moved from a modern attitude towards functionality and neutrality to an individualistic graphic language that expresses her personality through dynamic layout, vivid color, and type experiments. Her best projects offer an interesting and original contribution to the Swiss graphic design heritage. I know both Ziggy Odermatt and Rosemary TC, and actually invited Rosemary to come and speak at the American Institute of Graphic Arts conference here in San Diego. She's a remarkable woman and designer who swims on an almost daily basis in the Lake of Zurich. As internationalism grew after World War II, the new graphic design that had developed in Switzerland helped fulfill the needs for communicative clarity. Its fundamental concepts and methodologies spread throughout the world. In America, the Swiss movement had a major impact on post-war design. Among the designers who embraced the international type style were Rudolf de Herrack. De Herrack began his career in 1946 in LA and then moved to New York in 1952, where he formed his own design studio. Feeling that communicative clarity and visual order were vital components of effective graphic design, he adapted attributes of the ITS such as grid structures and asymmetry. In the early 60s, he designed a series of 350 book jackets for McGraw-Hill Publishers using a grid and a uniform type system. This series influenced the nature of book jacket design in the US. So, does the ITS still impact us today? I'd like to share with you the work of artist and designer Mike Joyce. These are Swisted posters, and he's the owner of Stereotype Design in New York City. Drawing from his love of punk rock and Swiss modernism, two movements that have almost nothing to do with one another, Mike has redesigned vintage punk, hardcore, new wave, and indie rock poster show flyers into ITS style posters. Each design is set in lowercase Accidents Grotesque Medium, not Helvetica. Every single one of these amazing shows actually happened, and he translated them into ITS-inspired posters.